Hi, my dearly unbehaved. Stevie Lynn here, and welcome to the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about gray hair and why I don't think that going gray is an act of rebellion. I actually think it's an act of unbehavior. If you're new to this channel, you probably don't know exactly what unbehaved is. So let me describe it, or let me give you a definition. Because you're not going to find it in the Oxford Dictionary or Merriam-Webster or whatever. I coined the word myself, and I don't feel bad about it. I mean, where in the social contract does it say that Merriam-Webster or Oxford or whatever gets to be the warden of all the words? So, do you realize that a society's language determines what a society can or cannot think about, discuss, or even act upon? That means whoever is determining which words can be validated or not is actually affecting our free thought. Think about it. This is why it's not only okay to think conceptually, but it's important too. And then mint those concepts into words so they can be discussed freely. It's not arrogant or childish to make up words. It's democratizing. That is unbehavior at the grassroots level. Words are the grassroots of society. So what is it like to be unbehaved? Have you ever defied social expectations, not because you were acting out in any sort of way, but because those social expectations were in the way of your goals and your authenticity? That is what being unbehaved is all about. It's a kind of civil disobedience, but it's not done as resistance or protest. It's more like blazing a path through absurd social constructs so that you could reach your goal, so you could be who you are. So I thought going gray would be a perfect example of this. There is nothing objectionably weird or absurd about gray hair. It just naturally grows, and half of us are going to be gray by the time we're 50. It's natural. So why is it considered weird to have it? Why make it an implicit rule that women under a certain age shouldn't have gray hair? Some people get their first gray when they're still a child. Why do some people think that it's rebellious to flaunt what nature gave us? In fact, I kind of see it as an act of gratitude. Maybe it just goes against the patriarchy to be allied with nature. Dear patriarchy, you cannot conquer nature. Nature is red in tooth and claw, and she will stripe your ass into existence. So maybe try a little humility instead. So most women don't decide to go gray because they want to be punk. They do it because they want to be free of expense, free of expectation, the mental load of always worrying how their hair looks, free of health problems, free of artifice, freedom to decide what is beautiful for yourself, freedom to not have to prioritize your appearance over all other aspects of yourself. There's always some element of freedom that is motivating a woman to go gray. A shimmering head of glorious silver hair is gorgeous as fuck. The process of getting there is quite a journey. So I believe the desire for freedom is the main motivating factor, mainly because that freedom begins on day one. People say that there's no instant gratification in going gray, but there is one, and that's freedom. It happens the very day you go gray. It's instant, and it's that freedom that fuels many of us to continue on. It also, keeps me from dyeing my hair. I mean, I do have a little purple in it, but I mean, like full-fledged, dyeing it dark brown again, or it keeps me from doing that because what scares me is that feeling that I will be trapped by my hair dye again, and I don't. That's just a nightmare to me. That comes instantly seems to be way more motivating than the silver at the end of the rainbow of hair dye that you have to get through for like a couple of years. It takes a long time. That said, there are some people who will bow out of the journey because of their freedom. As Kierkegaard once said, the dizzying effect of looking into the boundlessness of one's own possibilities might be a little bit too much for some. Some people really do like rules, and it makes them feel safe and contained. And if going gray breaks you out of those rules, you might not feel as safe and contained. I also believe that one of the reasons why some people find gray hair to be threatening is because it is symbolic of a woman's freedom. In the same way that long hair, or perhaps a beautiful, long, glorious silver-haired beard might be symbolic of freedom for a man. Because free people are very hard to manage. Try me. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on these intentional reasons for going gray, these unbehaved reasons. Let us know in the comments if you're here because you are considering going gray, or if you are already gray yourself. And also let us know if it rings true for you, or, maybe you went gray for another reason. Let us know in the comments. Some of these reasons are my own reasons, and some of these reasons I have learned about from just hanging out with other silver sisters. First reason, relief from a monthly beauty bill. Seriously. Oh my gosh. When I was dyeing my hair really dark, I would go, to a professional, because you kind of have to when you have hair that's this gray. You dye it yourself, it usually ends up just becoming really saturated with dark, matte, and then your roots are lighter, and it just looks like shit. I mean, it just doesn't look very classy. So you pay the big bucks to look young and classy. So my monthly beauty bill to keep my hair looking youthful for like a week, because really it only lasted a week before I had little tinsel coming into my, in my temples, and like right here. I felt like I looked like Herman Munster or Mitt Romney, or whenever I say Mitt Romney, people are confused. I guess they don't really know Mitt. I'm sorry. Okay. So I used to spend about $200 getting it would be about $200 getting my hair trimmed and getting it, some months I didn't get my hair trimmed. So it's $150 to $200. That's a big monthly bill. I mean, think of all that you can do with that money. One of the reasons why I quit doing it is because I wanted to stop working at the incredibly stressful job that I was working at, and I wanted to be a writer. And the only way that I was going to do that was to cut. Basically, I gave up dyeing my hair to gain access to more personal freedom. Another freeing reason why people decide to go gray is it frees up more time. So when I was dyeing my hair gray, I had to take a couple hours off of work every month, kind of like a doctor's appointment. And I was very lucky and privileged to be working all by myself in my own office, and I could kind of make my own hours. So it wasn't that big of an issue. But what if you can't do that? So it's got to be even a worse burden for other people. I mean, I was pretty lucky. Another reason is to be present in the age that you are, to embrace your age. This is really important to me. I decided while in the process of going gray that I actually wanted to live my life as a life was intended to be lived, which means going through the decades. Privilege to be able to grow older. It is a privilege to be able to be wiser. I want to be wiser. I don't want to be vacuous and pretty. I want to grow into my wisdom. I don't want to be competing with the 25-year-old in the youth and innocence department. I want to be wise, and I want to look my wisdom. So it's one of the reasons why I went gray, and I know there's a lot of other women who feel the same way. Why women choose gray in order to be free is to free themselves from unnecessary exposure to toxins. Hair dye is actually linked to bladder cancer, and I don't know all the details about it, but I did read about it a while back. So I know that there's a prevalence of bladder cancer amongst hairstylists. It's correlated or causally related to hair dye, but it is a concern for a lot of people. And, honestly, I can't imagine to have that the hair dye just sitting on my scalp anymore. Just the idea of that just sounds terrifying now. Here's something that used to be so true for me. Freedom to not have to dye your hair. Freedom of expression. So this is especially true to me. I started dyeing my hair probably when I was like 18, and I loved like just dyeing my hair red or burgundy, just purple, just really when you go gray, and when you start to go gray and you're dyeing hair, you're dyeing over that gray, it's really hard to do fantasy or fun colors anymore because it just doesn't come out right. Because when you have dark color on that dye, and that just gets more saturated, whereas your roots stay lighter. And so if you put a very non-neutral color on your roots, like a red or a purple, you just end up with what's called hot roots. You end up with very bright roots, and it just looks stupid. In order to get like reds or whatever, I would have had to spend way more than the $200 a month that I was already spending. So I just went, with the neutral. So when dyeing my hair started to feel compulsory, I really missed that aspect, that expressive aspect of myself. It just, it kind of made me feel old to be dyeing my hair. It like the idea that I could no longer play seemed like a very old idea. Like, yeah, I was an old fogey because I was no longer playing with my hair. I stopped it, and then I grew my hair out, really long, and I became really protective of my silver hair. So I didn't really do much fun, with it. I just let it grow, and I just nurtured it and babied it. But now that I cut my hair short, now I'm expressing myself again. I'm putting like fantasy colors in my hair because I can. I mean, I'm not so worried about my hair getting stained like I did when it was long. So I'm experimenting, and I can, and it just, it kind of sticks to your hair, but it doesn't permanently stick, and you don't end up with hot roots or anything like that. So actually, going gray has brought back some of that expression. The reason why women are going gray for freedom is because they want to decide what is beautiful for themselves. Fuck that beauty standard. My silver is perfect. It's beautiful. And while they're doing that, I have to applaud them because what they're doing is contributing to the social narrative. They are actually challenging beauty standards and changing the social narrative, and therefore changing the social contract. Good for them. Good for us, right? Reason why going gray is an act of freedom is it frees you from the mental load of always worrying about your hair, always worrying about how your hair looks like in fluorescent lighting, or if your roots are showing, or if the wind's blowing, can people see, the roots as the wind parts your hair. Also, getting out of that cycle of constantly fixing yourself, which just makes you feel flawed. Like if you're always fixing yourself, it sends a message that you're flawed. And the last one is authenticity, which is basically D, all of the above. It's not that gray hair makes you authentic, because you can be authentic with brown hair, blonde hair, whatever kind of hair that you absolutely want. What makes you authentic is choosing to go gray, choosing to serve your sense of self, choosing to serve who you are and where you want to go. So why is going gray an act of unbehavior and not an act of rebellion? That's because the unbehaved person acts out of love. Their goals are driven by love, a life that makes them happy because they love themselves. They strive to live in line with their values, their best abilities, their joy. They don't go against the social grain just to be different. They do it because that is the way toward their goal. They are just blazing an individual path through all the social constructs that don't serve shame, guilt, other people's opinions, etc., etc. A rebel, on the other hand, does not act out of authenticity. In fact, a rebel is basically the flip side of conformity, giving a directly contrarian response out of anger or fear. If someone is rebelling against you, you are informing their behavior. Authenticity doesn't even factor in. They're just responding to you. They're not responding to any deep desires or goals or anything else. Rebelling is just an emotional response. It's a fear response. A rebel flips the bird at society out of fear or rejection. Women, for example, might dance in the street because it just feels good. She's expressing her joy. And if she cares what other people think about her, that care is not enough to stop her. Because she knows what she's doing is harmless and may even be infectious. I mean, she might even inspire other people to join her in joy. It's hard to feel angry at someone who's dancing, right? And if it does make you angry, it's something to think about. There's the case that she might be dancing out of a little bit of fear, perhaps a homeopathic dose of it, because she fears losing her positive freedom. And positive freedom is something I'm going to talk about in another episode. It's part of political theory. It means self-mastery, and you kind of have to put it into practice or you lose it. So the woman dancing in the street is actually staking her claim on her positive freedom, or it's also called positive liberty. So Albert Camus once said, I'm going to read this because I don't have all the quotes in my head, "The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion." I've got lots of existentialism popping up in this video, huh? So yeah, there might be some Venn diagram overlap between rebelliousness and behavior. But if you are confused, just remember, I have some notes here. Just remember that unbehavior comes from deconstructing social behaviors that don't serve who you are or your goals, and it's also love-driven and intentional. Rebellion, on the other hand, is wholesale rejection of society. It is fear-based and it is emotional. It's just a brat with unexamined trauma. And we gray-haired women are not brats. So I see that I've been talking for a long time, so I'm going to conclude this video right now. And I will be back next week with some videos on self-love. So I've been doing a lot of thinking, a lot of self-examining. I've been reading philosophy, psychology, spiritual, metaphysics, all kinds of stuff. So I have a lot to bring to you in regards to self-love. It's going to be about 3 or 4 episodes, actually. I've been doing some writing, some crazy writing. If you are interested in self-love, if you are interested in developing or cultivating more self-love, or maybe you're just interested in hearing some new theories, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell below. And like this video if you got anything out of it. It really helps to encourage me, and it also encourages the algorithm to show my videos to other people. So that's it. And I had such a good time hanging out with you, and I can't wait to hang out next week.